Yo, today we'll be reviewing the Bard from the 1 D&D playtest. And since it's a caster, it's no surprise that they're still good as ever. Hit dice and proficiencies remain the same, while Bardic Inspiration has had some adjustments. Instead of a bonus action, you use your reaction instead to give the inspiration. This is huge since you can't cast spells like Shield, Counterspell, or Absorb Elements after, which are essential for any caster. You can use it on any D20 test, and you can also use a Bardic Inspiration to heal. I think the healing is mostly useless since healing in the middle of combat is rarely optimal, and the heal is too small to be useful in higher levels out of combat. They also changed the number of uses from your charisma modifier to your proficiency bonus instead, so you want to be conservative in the lower levels. For spellcasting, they get access to the arcane spell list, but it can only be in schools of divination, enchantment, illusion, and transmutation. I'm not sure if this widens their spell list or not, but we'll see when they finally release their entire spell list. For now though, as it stands, it looks like they're shifting Bard into even more of a utility role. Some key losses are Shield and Counterspell, and Absorb Elements, which, I just talked about, so maybe they don't get those spells in the first place anyway. So I guess it might be fine for eating its reaction. You can also replace one spell you've learned per long rest, with the drawback being that your prepared spells are equal to your spell slots instead of the previous one, where you could just prepare whatever levels of spells you want. Being able to change your spell list is quite nice, and it gives the Bard more adaptability and choices, which is a good thing for counterplay. At level 2, Song of Restoration gives the Bard additional healing spells that are already prepared, which evens out the amount of spells Bards have. Overall, these changes give them some diversity, while having these solid spells as a base. I can see some DMs just letting the players choose what spells they want instead of Song of Restoration, but this is good for new players who are new to D&D and just want the basics. You get expertise at level 2 instead of Jack of all trades, your subclass at level 3, and they have the lore bard for this article, which I will be reviewing in this video. You get bonus proficiencies and cutting words, which is still unchanged from the previous lore bard. Usually, the best way to use cutting words is to use them against creatures that are against a save or suck spell, so they're out of the fight immediately. You get Jack of all trades at level 5, where you add half your proficiency to any ability check you aren't already proficient with. Jack of all trades and the master of none. An important thing to note is that this thing can still add upon ability checks of spells like Counterspell, making the Bard the best anti-caster caster. Mr. J. Craw himself cleared this up a couple years ago, and I expect it to hold up until now. Unless, he decides to tweet it out again. It's too bad that Counterspell is in Abjuration, which the Bard probably doesn't have access to until you get Magical Secret. At 6th level, you get the subclass feature, and Counter Charm has been removed, which is fine since you rarely use your action to prepare for a charm in the first place. I expected them to replace it so that you use your reaction instead, so that you get to choose between Counter Charming or Bardic Inspiration, but I guess they just wanted to do away with it entirely. For the Lore Bard subclass, you get Cunning Inspiration, which lets you take the higher of 2 Bardic Inspiration rolls. I made a graph, and it's right here, using anydice.com to show how much difference it makes, and I'd say it's a pretty decent amount. This feature replaces additional magical secrets, which I think is more powerful, given that you take the correct choices at those levels. This means that you can't get access to Counterspell at this level. Oh well. At level 7, you get Font of Bardic Inspiration, which refreshes your uses after short rests. This is especially useful now since the starting amount of Bardic Inspiration are quite scarce at the start. Huh? You get expertise again at level 9? So that means bards have as much expertise as rogues now? And they get Bardic Inspiration, spellcasting utility, and also Jack of all trades on top of that? Why would you ever play the rogue now, when Bard can do everything but better? Sure, rogues get reliable talent, but that's still incomparable. Not to mention the rogue sneak attack nerf. Well, since this is a video about Bard, it's extremely good for them. At level 10 for lore bards, your cutting words now deal a decent chunk of psychic damage for an excess sprinkle of damage. Bards get magical secrets at level 11, which is where you can choose 2 spells from any spell list in the universe. I'm excited to see what spells would be the most optimal. You get Peerless skill from your subclass at level 14, allowing you to add your Bardic Inspiration to all crucial rolls. And if you fail, you get them back anyway. You get more magical secrets at 15, and that means you can't get Wish anymore. This is definitely an nerf since you can't have the win game button anymore. But I wonder if you can replace these spells every long rest, so you could still potentially take the win button the moment you hit level 17 and take a long rest. Your class capstone is Superior Bardic Inspiration, which gives you 2 free uses on each initiative roll. At this point, you'll be using this whenever you can, left and right, and you'll be playing your magical instrument till the end of time. And finally, you get an epic boon at level 20, which tells you to get the epic boon of Luck Feat. This feat lets you add a d10 to any check, which you will probably add with your Bardic Inspiration, and if you're a lore bard, you can make a check with an average result of around 24 without even adding your proficiency bonus and ability check modifier. I'd say this is pretty good, and it could even be better, since of course you can choose whatever boon you want. And I like this change. I think the board has just had some tweaks and a couple of buffs in certain areas, allowing for more versatility with replacing a spell on each short rest and with 2 more skills with expertise. The only downside they got is that Bardic Inspiration eating reaction will affect the action economy quite a bit. I still think it's going to be a top tier class, however, with its immense of utility inside and out of combat, something that the rogue cannot even begin to compare to. With Bard being top tier, I can't wait for Wizards of the Coast to release their namesake class, the Wizard. As always, thanks for watching. Leave a like to help me beat the algorithm, and if you like fast-paced content like this, please consider subscribing. I also stream every now and then, but the VODs won't clutter your sub box. More videos coming soon, and I open the Ko-fi if you're interested. Until next time, see ya!